Hello and welcome. I'm Eldrick Tinkatoyat, the guy behind Advert Writer, where we help small businesses and professionals increase their visibility and assert their credibility through informative and non-manipulative content. Welcome to the channel if this is your first time. If do check out the other videos that I have posted in the past few months on YouTube, on Facebook. You can follow me on my Facebook, Advert Writer, same spelling as the little company there, the red and black, or Eldrick Toyat on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn. Anyway, this particular video was inspired by a conversation on Clubhouse that I tuned into yesterday, and I think it's quite useful, especially when you're a professional firm and your organization or your industry is heavily and highly regulated. So we're talking about the insurance industry, the finance industry, real estate, lawyers and attorneys, even the healthcare industry. So let me just list that down here. You have insurance, healthcare, third, you have your investments related. Fourth, you have your what did I say earlier on? Lawyers and attorneys. Fifth, your accountants and auditors. As well as any other heavily regulated industries. And when I say heavily regulated, take in mind it could be regulated at a local council level, at a local level, at a state level, or at a provincial level. It could also be at a national level as well as international. Let's not forget, when we're talking about cross-border trade, which I guess COVID has allowed, well, I wouldn't say allowed, but been a catalyst of. Everyone is doing work remotely. Everyone is doing things online. So it opens up that opportunity many never really saw until we were given this huge shove by the pandemic. So it creates that limitation in the sense that all this while we were in our national or regional bubble, suddenly some of our businesses, some business owners, some professionals have to work cross-border. And circling back to this particular topic, content marketing, professional advice versus general information. Here, in one particular case in mind, which applies in Malaysia, probably other Commonwealth countries, for instance, the likes of Australia, the United Kingdom, is Caparo Industries versus Dickman. Of course, this is a duty of care, a case on duty of care, which has different application. It can be used for torts. It can be used as well for the topic of the day, professional advice and general information. If you've often noticed, especially when you're subscribing to, say, if you're reading financial pages, financial content hubs, the likes of, Wall Street, you have the likes of The Edge, or any white papers, reports issued by fund houses, you notice that there is always a disclaimer in the fine print. This does not constitute professional advice. This is for the purpose of information. Many big firms do that for the simple reason that we are going to cover today. When it comes to liability of communication, when it comes to liability related to communication and information, what you're communicating out could be misconstrued as professional advice. Professional advice, when you're giving professional advice, in an arbitrary manner where you can't control. So let's say you're going on a forum, you're going on Clubhouse, you're going on chats, you're doing a Facebook Live, or you're even writing a blog for your for your website. Is it a professional advice or general information? Professional advice brings civil and to a degree criminal liability against you. Meaning, if someone follows that advice and does not achieve the outcome or does not achieve the intended results that you were conveying, then they have a right to sue you. Whereas, as I said earlier on, many banks, many financial institutions, legal firms, accountancy firms, as well as other professional firms, still go out and publish content online. You have your realtors, your real property, your valuers. They still publish it online, and yet they're safe. The distinction, in the simplest manner possible, falls in whether it constitutes a professional advice or a general information. And I have to tell you this because this is where the marketing side and the legal side often have a tussle. In bigger firms, in larger firms which hires in-house legal teams or has a legal firm, a legal advisor on standby, will often vet through marketing collateral to make sure that what is being offered, what is being communicated, especially in writing, to the public at large, does not fall under professional advice. Professional advice is very targeted. Okay. Professional advice is targeted. Think of it like when you're visiting your doctor, when you're visiting your GP, your general practitioner. You're coming in, hey doc, I'm having a headache, I'm having heart palpitation, I couldn't sleep last night. So as you go there, in that session, in that consult session, the doctor will then run simple tests, temperature check, due diligence, okay, how long has this happened, do you have any medical history, are you taking any medication? They'll consult you to understand your situation better. They will check your blood pressure, your heart rate, and every other simple health indicators that they need to come up with a prescriptive and diagnostic advice. So it's quite different compared to, hey, I have a headache, I can't sleep at night, I'm gonna go onto Google and check out what this means. So that situation where I went out and stumbled upon WebMD falls under general information. That's where you see the disclaimer. The information presented in this website is for informative purposes only. It does not negate the need for a one-on-one personalized consult. It does not constitute medical advice. Likewise, investment books, the same thing. You have so many investments out there. There's options, there's real estate, you have stock market, you have antiques, gold, silver, cryptocurrency. Any reasonable, prudent professional will tell you whatever is offered to the public at large is purely information. And should you act on that information, the responsibility falls on you, not the firm. Fair, again, that is fair because, for example, I invest in unit trust. I put my money in unit trust. Every now and then I would get quarterly reports or market reports, the monthly reports. It is intended to inform me of the general ecosystem, the general market that they are investing in. It's not meant to address my personal situation. When you're talking about an investor, like in my case, even if it's a mutual fund or a unit trust or an index fund, I have a degree of risk appetite. And my risk appetite would be different from yours. Your risk appetite will be different from your cousins, your friends, your colleagues, your bosses. It depends on many factors: your age, your liability, your commitments, your lifestyle even. So only through a proper consult can a professional render advice to you. Now, if that advice rendered it for you after listening to listening after that due diligence, that conversation, that consult, and you have issues there is a form of relationship or legal relationship, that duty of trust earlier on I mentioned through Caparo Industries. That is where the professional service provider, the professional, can be held liable for any losses. Of course, again, legally speaking, there's so many safeguards that are in place. For instance, it could be relevant at the time of conversation, but 1 week later, things happen, stock market collapse, no one anticipated it, and it affected others. Let's go back to the advice pre-pandemic. No one anticipated that the COVID-19 pandemic would be at such a stage. So any advice that was made a few weeks earlier would have been rendered moot. It's been rendered theoretical. It has been rendered obsolete by what has happened. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the professional to make that recommendation, to advise you on what needs to happen next. But for information, it's a different story. You go online, you can find so many information that has been there since the dawn. If you can find the dawn of the internet age, you can find information from 10 years back, like social networking sites from 10 years back, and you can trace. It's generally just that. It's information. Oh, this. It can be very principle oriented. General information, your textbooks, those are general information. It's not professional advice. It can be written by a Nobel laureate, but still it's not a professional advice. Why? It's purely for general information. And you make that decision on your own, independent of that advice. Okay? So the approach in content marketing is similar. I've been going on 10 minutes right now just on this idea, just on this premise, because it is crucial, especially when, again, returning to heavily regulated industries like insurance, like healthcare, investment, lawyers, attorneys, accountants, auditors, food, F&B even, especially health supplements. You don't want to give professional advice to people whom you do not know their condition. And that's why when you're on Clubhouse, so when you're doing this, you don't have to engage us at Advert Writer. You can do it on your own, okay? Creating a Clubhouse is as simple as opening the app, create a room, and off you go. Create an AMA. So your disclaimer repeatedly, verbally, is that this is your caveat. This is purely for information purposes. It is not a professional advice. In my opinion, XYZ. So that ties back to where I come from as well. You see, it's not, even though my industry or what I do is not heavily regulated, but I am, like you, I'm very wary of these big numbers promises from many firms out there that provides content strategy, digital marketing. It applies perhaps at a stage when you have the budget. For example, if you are able to pump in $20,000 per week for a weekend event, your results will be different from someone who has zero budget, who has to do it organically, who operates on a shoestring budget. Like I mentioned earlier on, if you are a medium or a large organization where you have your legal team, your marketing team, things will go differently compared to when you are the business. It's just you, perhaps supported by your spouse, your friend, your children, who are not professionals in their own right within that field. All you know is you need to market your business, your product, your service, your value proposition. And the reason why you see the business model canvas is, quickly, again, in business model canvas, one of the items that you have to consider after you've done that is your regulation. What's the regulation and the environment and the market, the external factors that influences. If you read the book, I'm going to use a red ink here. Oops. If you go to strategizer.com, or you go to or you read the book, you'll notice that there's some little marks, 4 marks on the left, right, and top, left, and right. Basically, it means the external pressures or the external environment, well, basically the ecosystem in which your business model will operate on. And one of them is obviously regulation, your market. So coming back again, before I go off tangent, you have to bear in mind that what you're saying, or what you're marketing, or what you're communicating out does not constitute professional advice. It does not mislead. And that is why, from my side, personally, when I was brainstorming what value do I want to produce as advert writer, I came with this particular line: helping small businesses and professionals. Why? First, small business and professionals run on shoestring budget. I'm not interested in pitching multi-billion-dollar contracts. I would, just like you, I would like to have some spare time. I would like to have some growth. I would like to have some sustainability. And I believe that small businesses and professionals are the ones that struggle with this the most, because they have a lot of things to do. They're the operations, they're the project delivery, they have to do the marketing, they have to do the books, they have to do the documentation, they have to do everything basically. And that's just the work side, the business side. What about their family? What about their social life? What about their partners? What about their hobbies? They can go insane if there's no help there. Number 2, second line, that was accidental by the way, increasing visibility and assert credibility, because that's the purpose of content marketing. That's the purpose of digital marketing from where I see. I'm not interested in sales. Often enough, when I work with clients, sales and marketing fall into different categories. I predominantly work with marketing as well as corporate comm clients. So corporate communications clients, these are your PR people. They engage stakeholders, they engage regulators, policymakers, lawmakers, whereas marketing engages with the general public at large, or their target audience. Now you notice that the business function of these two areas do not correlate to sales, or rather it is a bit detached from sales. Sales would be the revenue, the money that's coming in, and clients often, when they're big, they create silos: the marketing silo, the finance silo, the communication silo. And the conversation within the client side needs to happen to be able to draw that line from initiative A under comms, resulting in outcome B of revenue/profit. It is not something that we external parties can help with. We are not privy to that information. Okay, anyway, finally, informative and non-manipulative content. That is where I'm coming from, general information. That's why you hear in my videos, I do not give specific examples, barring the fact that some of my I've signed NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, but it is meant to give you an information that you can later take and go further research on the topic. I've given you some idea in that sense. You make the call. If you feel comfortable, you can reach out to me. Likewise, for people in the insurance line, healthcare line, doctors, clinics, dentists, specialists, investment line, unit trust, cryptocurrency, share market, short stock brokerage, and all that, lawyers, attorneys, accountants, auditors, and whatever other regulated professional bodies. You want to educate people, create that thought leadership. That is how I would see it. That's what I think would be the general way, because it ties back to your ecosystem. It ties back to SEO, searchability. It ties back to becoming a thought leader. Again, I can only give you specific advice, just as you can only give your clients specific advice after I've sat down with you, I've fully understood I fully understood your business model, your, as here, this 9 boxes, your value proposition, your customer segment, the problem, the pain point that you're actually facing right now. I'm giving generalized examples, as you can do as well for your content marketing, especially when you're doing it on yourself, your DIY marketing efforts. What's key is you need to distinguish professional advice, meaning something you give because you've done due diligence, you've studied the method thoroughly, and therefore you are able to come up with this bespoke, customized advice for your client to act upon in the most reasonable and fast time possible. Or you can share what you know, the interpretation of case law if you're a lawyer. For example, what does case A, Caparo Industries indictment means to auditing firms, to stock brokerage? What does it mean to healthcare providers? If you're in a healthcare provider, for example, you run a clinic, you can consider, in health information about sexually transmitted diseases like HIV, hepatitis C, hepatitis B, I'm not sure, syphilis, gonorrhea and chlamydia, and so on and so forth. You don't prescribe, you are generally sharing. So it doesn't matter whether your content is retrievable or not. Like Clubhouse is not retrievable unless someone, including could be yourself or other people in the room, is recording it, hopefully with everyone's knowledge. It will be a bit difficult. It will be a fleeting advice. Or if it's reduced to writing, an email, a proper report, that is a different story altogether. Or even a video, that is a different story altogether, right? My point being, coming back, when you're doing content marketing, understand that you are coming from the angle of general information. You're trying to educate, you're trying to guide in a general sense, but you're trying to pull back. You're pulling back so that they will engage you on a one-on-one basis. They would consult you personally. They would speak to you. Again, you don't have a crystal ball, you can't read minds, you don't have telepathic powers, neither do I. So that is why in my videos, when I'm sharing this information on digital marketing, coming back, digital marketing content strategy, I always pull up the business model canvas because it's too generic. I cannot customize. I don't know your digital assets. I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know your business plan, your ecosystem. How does it correlate to one another? We need to have that conversation. You need to have that conversation with yourself first. If you can't, you're stuck, then you find me or any other content marketing / digital marketing consultant that you're comfortable with, who will then help you specifically. And that is the crux of this video. Again, content marketing, you are not giving professional advice. You are giving you are providing or sharing general information. You're sharing insights, not advice. You're sharing assumptions. You're sharing opinions, not advice. Okay? It is only advice after you've clearly fulfilled certain requirements. I would recommend that you speak to a lawyer or a legal practitioner, a licensed legal practitioner within your jurisdiction where you're operating in, to further explore this. Otherwise, we go the general route, no specific promises, no exaggerated promises, no health claims, and no claims. Why do I say no claims? Again, 100% success rate is a major claim. That is a huge claim, and you can get into trouble with your regulators. However, if you're analyzing, for example, the investment habits of Warren Buffett, it's a different story altogether. You're not analyzing XYZ person who is your client. You're analyzing Warren Buffett, just to draw out some parallels, some principles. It's a case study, basically. It's a case study for you to share with others, to assert your position, assert your credibility as a thought leader, assert your position as a professional, a competent professional, to increase your visibility. When I say visibility, that's basically your search engine side, organic wise, your social media side, organic wise. Credibility is whatever that comes in between that you're not pushing, it's supporting. The reason I bring this again up is because I'm sure you've seen every now and then ads on Facebook. Click on the page, for example, for a house or a property, a new launch property, a new project. It's an ad. Then you click on the page, last post, July 3rd, 2000. You've seen that. Okay, it's not 2000, I'm exaggerating there, but last post, July 3rd, 2010. Then what's the filler? Likewise, going on to YouTube, going on to websites, last post, last edited, 2016. How do I know this person is real? So again, it goes back to your business model. I've been in this morning I was in a clubhouse and I heard this entrepreneur relating that because his model does not rely entirely on websites, his event that was sold out back in 2016. It's been 4 or 5 years and he has not gone around updating it because there's no need to. Likewise, there's another entrepreneur, a professional, who does not have a website himself. So, there are certain rules and parameters that you have to go about, especially when you're providing general information. It could be hypothetical. I mean, the content could be based on a hypothetical scenario, tied back to real world examples, and with a disclaimer, or with a general disclaimer throughout the site, or concluded with what areas to explore further, as well as your call to action. Anyway, I'm fast approaching the 30 minutes mark. Again, if you have any questions on this, on content marketing, especially if you're in a heavily regulated industry in Malaysia or out of Malaysia, Australia, Singapore, New Zealand, the United States, or you're based in Hong Kong, feel free to reach out to me. You can connect with me on Clubhouse, or you can scan the QR code where you will be responded to as soon as possible. Let me just bring everything to the side once more. Right. If you're wondering why I do this every now and then, it's because why I drag it, it's because I will probably be putting an end slide, and I don't want to block on YouTube especially, I don't want to block I don't intend to block the QR code for people who are interested in scanning it. So as many opportunities as possible, right? And yes, so do check out my other videos. If you would like to jump into a conversation with me, feel free to reach out, scan the QR code. I would love to hear from you. We can arrange a virtual consult. Let me understand where you're coming from, and perhaps we can see how I can help you. Once again, I'm Eldrick Tinkatoyat, the guy behind Advert Writer, where we help small businesses and professionals increase visibility and assert their credibility through informative and non-manipulative content. Remember to smash the like button. Do subscribe to my channel and my page if you haven't. Leave a comment in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you how I can improve, or areas that you'd like me to share on. And finally, have a great day ahead. Stay safe. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate that you've spent the last half an hour with me. Bye.